How does a quiet father protect his home when his own son brings a money-focused spouse into the family? Why would I put a coded lock on my basement like it was a bank vault? What happened on my business trip proved I was right to prepare. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible stories. My name is Graham Pierce. I am 58 years old. I work as a property manager, and I also do inspection work when a town needs extra hands. I am not loud. I do not like arguments. I like quiet rules that make life simple. Oh, I learned that a long time ago. I bought my house in my early 30s. It is not fancy, but it is solid. The kitchen is small, the living room is bright, and the basement is deep and dry. That basement is the one place I always kept for myself. It holds old tools, family records, and boxes I do not want people to touch. Some things in there are not about money. They are about control and order. When life gets messy, order is what keeps you standing. My son Noah is 32 now. He used to come over every weekend. He helped with yard work. He sat at my kitchen table and talked about normal things. Then he got married to Tara. After that, his visits changed. They became shorter. He started checking his phone more. He started looking at Tara before he answered simple questions, like he needed permission. Tara is 29. She is friendly in a bright, practiced way. She smiles fast. She looks people in the eyes and speaks like she already knows what they will agree to. She calls everyone family very quickly. At first, I thought she was just energetic. I told myself I should not judge her. I tried to be polite and welcoming. The first time she came to my house, she walked through the rooms like she was taking notes. She touched the back of a chair. She looked at the corners of the ceiling. She paused at framed photos and asked who owned what and when. She did not say it in a rude tone. She said it like casual interest. But her questions were not about memories. They were about value. In my kitchen, I keep a small corkboard. It has a grocery list, a few appointment cards, and a simple calendar. Tara stood there and read it without asking. She said she liked how organized I was. Then she asked, in the same breath, what I planned to do with the house one day. I told her I planned to live in it. I said it calmly, like it was obvious. Noah laughed like I was being funny. Tara did not laugh. She nodded slowly, like she was filing away a detail. I have a rule about my basement. Noah knows it. When he was a teenager, he once went down there without permission. He broke a box that held family papers. It was not a big disaster, but it taught me something. People do not respect a boundary unless it has weight. After that, I told him the basement was off limits unless I was with him. He accepted that rule. Over the years, it became normal. Tara did not like that rule. On a Saturday afternoon in early fall, Noah and Tara came over for lunch. I made soup and sandwiches. I set out coffee. I kept things simple. They arrived late. Tara walked in first, carrying a bag that looked expensive. Noah followed her, holding nothing. She kissed my cheek quickly and said she loved my home. She said it like a compliment, but it sounded like a claim. In the kitchen, she asked if I had upgraded anything recently. I said I replaced the water heater last year. She asked how much it cost. I told her I did not remember the exact number. She said she admired how I handled big expenses without stress. Then she looked at Noah and said he could learn from me. Noah smiled, but it was a tired smile. We sat in the living room after lunch. Tara asked about family history. I pointed at a photo of Noah as a child, standing beside a small bicycle. She said it was sweet. Then she asked where I kept important family items. I told her I kept most things stored safely. She asked if that meant the basement. I said yes, some of it. She leaned forward slightly. She said she had always been curious about the basement. She said it was strange that Noah had never seen it as an adult. She said married life was about trust and openness, and families should not keep secrets from each other. I told her the basement was not a secret. I told her it was simply private. I said I did not have guests down there. I said it in the same tone I would use to say the oven was hot. Tara looked at Noah like she expected him to correct me. Noah cleared his throat and said it was my house, and I had my ways. He tried to make it sound harmless. Tara smiled again, but the smile was thinner. She said she understood, yet she kept talking. She said she worried that I was alone too much. She said she worried I might fall or get hurt. She said she worried that if something happened, Noah would not know what to do. She said the basement could have important things, like documents, and it would be responsible for Noah to know where they were. I listened. I did not argue. I simply told her I had my own plan for my own house. I told her I was healthy. I told her Noah did not need to manage me. A knock came at the front door. It was my neighbor, Mara, bringing back a casserole dish. She had borrowed it the week before. Mara is the kind of person who sees everything without looking like she is watching. She said hello to Noah and Tara. Tara stood up fast and hugged her like they were old friends. Mara sat for a minute and talked about the weather. Tara shifted the conversation back to my house. She said I had a lot of space for one person. She said it must be hard to keep up. She said maybe Noah and she should help me organize sometime. Mara looked at me and asked in a quiet way if I wanted help. I told her I appreciated it, but I was fine. Tara said she admired my independence. Then she said independence could turn into stubbornness. She laughed lightly after that, like it was a joke. Noah laughed too. He laughed too quickly. I felt something tighten in my chest. Not anger, not fear, more like a clear signal. A small switch in my mind that said I needed to pay attention. A little later, Tara got up and walked toward the hallway like she was looking for the bathroom. I watched her steps. She took a wrong turn, then another. She paused near the basement door. That door is at the end of a small hallway, near a coat closet. I keep it closed. It has a regular knob and a simple deadbolt. Tara touched the knob gently and tried it once. When it did not move, she turned back and acted surprised to see me watching. She said she must have taken a wrong turn. She said the hallway was darker than she expected. She smiled as if it was silly. I told her the bathroom was the other way. I kept my voice even. She walked back, but she did not look embarrassed. She looked curious. After they left, I stood in the hallway and stared at the basement door. I knew what I had seen. It was not an accident. It was a test. Tara was checking what she could reach. She was checking how I reacted. That evening, I went into my garage workshop. I sat on a stool and looked at my tools like they were old friends. The garage smells like wood dust and oil. It is a calm smell. I opened a small notebook I keep in a drawer and wrote down what happened. I did not write feelings. I wrote facts. Date. Time. What she said. What she did. Who was there? Some people think writing things down is dramatic. I think it is simple. Memory changes when people talk too much. Paper does not. The next day, I visited a local locksmith, Elliot Kwan. I had met him years ago when a tenant lost keys during a snowstorm. Elliot is quiet and precise. He does not ask personal questions. I told him I wanted to upgrade one interior door with a keypad lock. I told him it was for privacy. He nodded like it was normal. Elliot came by the following afternoon. He installed the keypad on the basement door neatly. He tested it twice and showed me how to reset the code. He asked if I wanted a spare code for family. I told him no. I said one code was enough. He did not judge me. He only reminded me to choose a code that was not easy to guess. I chose a number pattern that meant something only to me. Then I wrote it down and locked that note away where no visitor would find it. Before Elliot left, I asked him about a small camera that could watch a doorway. Not for spying, just for knowing who touched what. He suggested a simple unit with motion alerts. He told me how to position it so it only faced the door, not the rest of the hall. I liked that. I did not want to watch my home like a guard. I only wanted a clear record if a boundary was crossed. That night, I sat at my kitchen table with the lights low. I drank tea. I looked at the calendar on the corkboard. I had a business trip coming up, 3 days in another city for an inspection contract. It was routine work. Still, I circled the trip dates in pen. I did not do it for drama. I did it because I could feel the pressure building in small steps. I thought about Tara's words and how she used the same calm tone for concern and control. I thought about Noah's tired smile. I thought about how often people confuse calmness with weakness. When you are quiet, loud people assume you will bend. When you do not argue, they assume you agree. When you do not fight for attention, they assume you have nothing worth protecting. I washed my cup and checked the basement door one more time. The keypad beeped softly when I entered the code. The lock clicked cleanly. That sound was not about fear. It was about clarity. I went to bed early. I slept in my own room, in my own house, with my own rules. And for the first time in a long while, I felt sure of something simple. If anyone tried to push past my boundaries again, they would not meet anger. They would meet structure. They would meet a system that did not care about smiles or stories. A few weeks before that lunch, I started noticing the pattern, even if I did not name it yet. Noah used to call me on his drive home from work. He would ask about my day. He would tell me about his plans. After he married Tara, those calls became short. He started speaking in careful sentences, like he was trying not to cause trouble. When I invited them over, Tara often answered for Noah. She said they were busy. She said Noah had a lot on his plate. She said they were trying to build their future and needed to focus. I understood that. I never demanded attention. Still, the tone mattered. It felt like she was training him to see family time as a favor, not something normal. I tried to stay polite. I told myself that new marriages create new habits. I told myself I was older and needed to step back. But I also listened closely. Tara's questions were never random. She asked what I owned, what I still owed, and what I planned to do one day. She said it like she was discussing weather. But the questions always returned. The first real shift happened at a local cafe near Noah's job. He asked me to meet him there on a weekday, which was unusual. When I arrived, Tara was already sitting with him. She waved like she had planned the meeting. Noah looked surprised to see me hesitate, and he quickly stood up and pulled out a chair. Tara said she wanted to talk about family planning. She said it was good to be organized. She said responsible adults talk about these things early. She asked if I had everything written down. She asked if Noah was listed on any papers. She asked who would make decisions if I could not. She said she worried about confusion. I told her I had a plan. I told her I had handled my affairs for years. I told her I did not need advice at a cafe table. I kept my voice calm. Tara smiled and said she admired that. Then she said it was not just about me. She said Noah needed security too. She said, as my only child, he deserved clarity. She looked at Noah and said he should not be left guessing. Noah nodded, but it was a small nod. He did not look at me. I asked Noah if he had concerns. He said he just wanted everyone to get along. He said Tara liked structure. He said it would make her feel safe. That word stayed with me. Safe. Tara used that word often. She used it when she wanted information. She used it when she wanted access. She used it when she wanted control, but she never called it control. A few days later, Tara called me in the early evening. She said Noah was at work, and she wanted to check on me. She asked how I was feeling. She asked if I was sleeping well. Then she asked if I had considered moving closer to them. I told her I was fine where I was. I said my house was paid down and my routines worked. I said I liked my neighborhood. I kept it simple. She said she understood. Then she said an older person living alone could be risky. She said stairs could be dangerous. She mentioned the basement steps in a casual way, like she had been thinking about them. I told her my basement was not a shared family space. I told her I kept it closed for a reason. She went quiet for a moment. Then she said she did not mean anything by it. She said she only cared. After I hung up, I stood at my kitchen sink and stared at the window. The sun was low. The glass reflected my face back at me. I looked tired, but not confused. I knew what that call was. It was not a check-in. It was a probe. The next time they visited, Tara brought a small gift, a decorative plant in a clean white pot. She placed it on my counter and said it would brighten my kitchen. Then she asked where I kept my spare keys. She said it was normal for family to have a backup in case of emergencies. I told her I did not keep spare keys out. I said if Noah needed access one day, he could call me. Tara said emergencies do not wait for phone calls. She said a responsible father would not want his son locked out if something happened. She looked at Noah and asked him if he agreed. Noah shifted in his chair. He said it might be practical. He said it could prevent stress. He said it was just a key. I told Noah that boundaries are never just anything. I told him a key is trust. I told him trust works best when it is earned, not demanded. I said it calmly. I did not raise my voice. Tara laughed lightly and said I was intense about small things. She said I treated my house like a fortress. She said maybe I had trouble letting go. I did not answer that. I just poured coffee and asked if they wanted more. Later that week, I saw them at a hardware store. I needed screws and a hinge. I turned into an aisle and found Tara standing by a display of door locks. Noah was beside her, holding 2 boxes like he was shopping for a project he did not understand. Tara smiled and said it was funny to run into me. She said they were thinking about upgrading locks at their place. She asked what kind of locks I liked. She asked if I used keypads. She asked if I used cameras. I told her I used what I needed for my properties. I said I kept things basic. I did not give details. She said she liked technology. She said it made people feel secure. Then she said it also created records. She said records can protect families when misunderstandings happen. That line sounded rehearsed. It made my stomach turn, but I stayed calm. I paid for my items and wished them a good day. In the parking lot, Noah walked after me while Tara stayed behind for a moment. Noah said Tara was just trying to connect. He said she did not mean any harm. He said she grew up with less and worried about stability. I told Noah I understood worry. I told him worry can be honest, but I also told him some people use worry like a tool. I said it can open doors that should stay closed. Noah looked down at the pavement. He said he did not want conflict. He said he wanted a peaceful life. I told him peace is not the same as surrender. I said he did not need to pick fights, but he did need to recognize pressure. He nodded, but his nod was slow, like he was trying to convince himself. After that, Tara began using family gatherings to shape the room. She would bring up my house in front of others. She would ask questions with an audience, so any refusal looked harsh. She would mention how other families share everything. She would say the word normal often, as if it were a rule. At one small family dinner at a restaurant, she made a toast. She said she was grateful for family support. She looked at me while she said it. Then she said the older generation should trust the younger generation with responsibility. She said it was a sign of love. People at the table nodded. Noah smiled because everyone else smiled. I kept my face neutral. I did not challenge her in public. I just said I was glad they were building a life. Then I changed the subject to Noah's work. On the drive home, I pulled into my driveway and sat with the engine off. I realized something important. Tara was not asking once. She was building a case. Each question was a brick. Each public moment was a layer. Over time, she could point to the pile and say it proved something about me. That night, I opened the drawer in my garage workshop where I keep my notebook. I wrote down the hardware store conversation. I wrote down the restaurant toast. I wrote down the exact phrases she used. I also started saving messages. Tara liked to text in a cheerful way. She would send a smiling message and then add a request. She would ask when we could finally look at the basement together. She would say Noah was stressed and needed clarity. She would say family should not have locked doors inside the home. I did not argue in text. I answered in short, polite sentences. I said no. I said it was private. I said I would not discuss it further. Then I made a folder on my computer and backed up screenshots. I labeled it with a plain name that meant nothing to anyone else. I also printed a few pages and put them in a file sleeve. I did not show them to anyone. I did not threaten anyone. I just kept them. A few days later, Noah came alone to my house. He looked tired. He sat at my kitchen table and rubbed his hands together like he was cold. He said Tara felt I did not accept her. He said she felt excluded. He said she thought I did not respect their marriage. He said she wanted him to stand up for her. I listened. I waited until he finished. Then I told him I accepted that he chose her. I told him that did not change my boundaries. I told him privacy is not disrespect. I said it in a calm voice. Noah said he understood, but he also said Tara was not going to let it go. He said she kept asking what I was hiding. He said she told him that a man who locks family out is planning something unfair. I looked at my son and felt something heavy settle in my chest. It was not panic. It was recognition. Tara was teaching Noah to doubt me. She was turning a door into a story about my character. I told Noah one simple thing. I told him that if someone needs to break a boundary to feel secure, that is not security. That is control. Noah did not argue. He just stared at the table for a long moment. Then he said he wished things could be simpler. I wished that too. But I also knew simplicity does not come from giving in to pressure. It comes from clear lines. And at that point, the line around my basement was no longer just a rule. It was a test of what kind of man I would be in my own home. The week of my business trip arrived faster than I expected. It was routine work in another city. A building needed an inspection report for a long-delayed renovation. I had done this type of trip many times. One carry-on bag, one folder with notes, a simple schedule. The night before I left, Noah called. His voice sounded careful. He said Tara felt things were tense. He said she wanted to start fresh. He said maybe I could show her the basement for 5 minutes, just to end the topic. I told him I understood the desire for peace. I told him my answer was still no. I said the basement was private, and I would not change that. I said I did not want a debate. I said I wanted him to enjoy his marriage without turning my house into a project. Noah went quiet. Then he said Tara thought my refusal meant there was something valuable down there. He said she kept saying it was not normal to lock family out of part of the home. I told him normal does not matter as much as respectful. I told him my boundary was not a personal attack. I told him that if Tara needed access to feel secure, then security was not what she wanted. I said it calmly. I did not try to win. I just stated it. Noah said he did not want to be stuck between us. I told him I was not asking him to pick sides. I told him I was asking him to notice the pattern. After that call, I walked to the hallway and looked at the basement door. The keypad was quiet. The camera light was off, as it should be. I entered the code and tested the lock once. Then I closed it and checked it again. Some people would say I was being dramatic. I did not see it that way. I saw it like checking a seatbelt before a long drive. The next morning, I left early. The sky was gray and cold. I drove to the airport, parked, and walked inside with my bag. The terminal was loud in a steady way. Rolling suitcases, announcements, coffee smells. I sat at the gate and opened my folder. I had a habit of keeping my paperwork neat. It was not just for work, it was how I kept my mind clear. When you do what I do, you learn that confusion causes problems. People argue more when facts are missing. So I keep facts. My phone buzzed once. Then again. I glanced down and saw a motion alert. It was from the small camera near the basement door. The timestamp showed mid-morning. At first, I thought it could be a shadow. Sometimes light shifts. Then the phone buzzed again. Another motion alert, 2 minutes later. My stomach tightened, but my face stayed calm. I did not jump to conclusions. I opened the camera view and saw the hallway. The image was clear. I could see the basement door and part of the wall. Then I saw a figure move into frame. It was Tara. She stood at the basement door and leaned close to the keypad. She raised her hand and pressed numbers. The lock did not open. She tried again, then again. Her shoulders lifted and dropped, like she was frustrated. She stepped back and looked around, like she expected someone to appear. Then she crouched near the knob, as if checking the hardware. I watched for a few seconds, then I stopped. I did not need to see more to understand what was happening. She was not curious. She was working. I checked the time. My boarding had not started yet. I texted Noah in a short sentence and asked if he was at my house. I waited. No answer. Then my phone buzzed with a call. It was Noah. The sound of his voice told me everything before he said the details. He sounded like he was trying not to breathe too loudly. He said Tara went into the basement and something happened. He said he did not know what to do. He said she was upset and saying I set a trap. He said she kept repeating that she had a right to be down there now that she was family. I did not raise my voice. I did not ask why he let her in. I focused on what mattered. I told him to step away from the basement door. I told him not to touch anything inside. I told him to take a photo of the door, the lock, and the area around it. I told him to keep his phone in his hand and stay calm. I told him I would handle this properly. Noah said Tara claimed I gave her the code. He said she was telling him that I must have wanted her to go down there, because I left it easy. I told Noah I never gave her the code. I told him he knew that. I told him not to argue with her right now. I told him to keep things quiet and let me manage it through the right channels. Noah asked what right channels meant. I told him it meant rules, records, and professionals. I told him it meant not letting the loudest person rewrite the story. My flight began boarding. I walked onto the plane with my bag, my phone still warm in my hand. I sat in my seat and clicked my belt. I stared at the seat back for a moment. I could hear people chatting around me, but it felt far away. I realized this was the moment where the line was crossed. It was not a joke anymore. It was not uncomfortable talk at a restaurant. Tara had moved from pressure to action. She had tried to take what was not hers by turning it into a family right. Some people would respond with shouting. I do not shout. Shouting makes things messy. Messy things favor people who lie easily. I opened my notes app and wrote down what I knew. Time of alerts. What I saw in the camera image. What Noah said on the phone. I wrote it like an incident report, not like a diary. When we landed, I turned my phone back on and saw more alerts. Motion again. Then a few minutes later, motion again. I opened the view and saw Noah in the hallway. He was standing near the basement door. Tara was off frame, but I could hear her voice faintly through the microphone. The words were not clear. The tone was. Noah held his phone in his hand like he did not know what else to hold on to. I called him again. He answered quickly. He said Tara was saying the keypad did not work and that the door should have opened. He said she told him the lock was unfair and that I had created an unsafe environment. He said she kept acting like the basement belonged to them. I asked one question. I asked if the basement door was open. Noah hesitated. Then he said it was open, but only a little. He said Tara got it open and she went inside. He said she came back up holding a box and he told her to put it down. He said she refused at first. He said she finally set it down when he raised his voice. I took a slow breath. I told Noah to close the door and not enter. I told him to stand where the camera could see him clearly. I told him to keep his distance from Tara. I told him not to discuss the contents of anything. I told him to stop talking about rights and focus on facts. Noah said Tara wanted to call relatives. He said she wanted to tell everyone I was hiding something from them. He said she wanted to turn this into a family issue. I told him she could talk if she wanted. I told him talking does not change records. I told him not to chase her story. Then I called Elliot. He answered on the second ring. I told him I needed him to check a keypad lock and a door frame as soon as possible. I did not give him drama. I gave him a simple description. I asked for an invoice, a report, and photos if he could provide them. Elliot said he could go within an hour. Next, I called Renee Calder. She was an attorney I knew through property work. I had referred tenants to her for lease questions and boundary issues. She was direct and she was careful. She did not enjoy chaos, which I respected. I reached her office line and left a message. I said there was an unauthorized entry into a private area of my home while I was out of town. I said I had camera records. I said I wanted guidance on next steps that stayed clean and lawful. I said I would be back in town soon and would follow her instructions. After those calls, I sat in my hotel room and looked at the plain folder I always travel with. Inside were tabs for my work project, receipts, schedules, and contact numbers. I added a new tab with a simple label. I did not write Tara's name. I did not want emotion in the label, I wanted function. I ordered a simple dinner and ate it without tasting much. My mind was not racing, but it was moving. I was thinking in steps. Step 1, secure the space. Step 2, document what happened. Step 3, let professionals speak where their words carry weight. Later that night, Noah called again. His voice sounded smaller. He said Tara told him I would regret treating her this way. He said she told him a wife should not be kept out of anything and that I was disrespecting their marriage. He said she implied that if Noah did not fix this, she would make sure everyone knew what kind of father I was. I told Noah I was not afraid of stories. I told him I cared about what was true. I told him he needed to decide if he wanted peace built on truth or peace built on pressure. He asked what I would do when I came back. I told him I would not argue. I told him I would not beg for understanding. I told him I would handle it the right way through systems that do not bend for charm. When the call ended, I sat on the edge of the hotel bed and listened to the hum of the heater. I felt something settle inside me. It was not anger, it was clarity. I had tried kindness. I had tried patience. I had tried keeping things private to avoid conflict. Tara used every quiet moment as permission to push harder. Now she had crossed the line. And because she crossed it while I was away, she had done me one favor without meaning to. She created a clean timeline. She created a record. She created a situation where facts mattered more than opinions. I turned off the light and lay down fully dressed for a few minutes, staring at the ceiling. I knew the next steps would be controlled and formal. I also knew, in a very simple way, that Tara still believed I would fold. She had no idea what I had been preparing to protect, or how prepared I was to protect it. I flew back the next day on the earliest flight I could get without breaking my work obligation. I did not rush in a loud way. I moved like someone following a checklist. I kept my face neutral. I kept my phone charged. I kept my thoughts in order. When I landed, I did not go straight home. I drove to Noah's place first. I parked across the street and sat for a moment with my hands on the steering wheel. I wanted to see the mood before I stepped into it. I wanted to hear the first words without reacting. Noah opened the door before I knocked. His shoulders were tense. His eyes looked tired. He stepped aside and let me in quickly, like he did not want neighbors watching. Tara was in the living room with her arms folded. She looked ready for an audience. She started talking right away, speaking in a confident tone. She said she only did what any family member would do. She said I was being secretive and unreasonable. She said Noah deserved to know what his father was hiding. I did not argue. I asked Noah if the basement door at my house was closed. He said yes. I asked if anything was taken. He said he did not think so, but he could not be sure. Tara cut in and said nothing was taken. She said she only looked around and proved there was nothing dangerous. She said she was helping. I told Tara I understood her opinion. I told her she did not have permission. I told her permission matters. I said it calmly. I did not add emotion to it. I watched her face. Her smile faded for a moment, then came back in a sharper form. Noah tried to soften the moment. He said everyone was stressed. He said we could talk it out. Tara nodded and said talking would fix everything if I stopped acting like a gatekeeper. That word stayed with me. Gatekeeper. It was a way to turn my boundary into a character flaw. I told them I was going home now. I told Noah he could call me later if he wanted to talk alone. Tara looked offended that I did not stay and debate. She said leaving was disrespectful. I nodded once, like I heard her, and walked out. In my car, I did not feel relief. I felt confirmation. Tara did not want understanding. She wanted control of the story. If I stayed, she would push me into a scene. If I reacted, she would point at my reaction and use it as proof. So I did what calm people do when they are being pulled into chaos. I moved the problem into a place where rules speak louder than tone. At home, I parked in my driveway and walked inside. The house smelled the same as always. Quiet, clean, familiar. I went straight to the hallway and looked at the basement door. The keypad was intact. The frame looked fine at first glance. I did not touch anything. I took photos from 3 angles, slow and careful. I photographed the keypad, the knob, and the edge of the door where it meets the frame. Then I opened my laptop in the kitchen and checked the camera log. I watched the hallway clips once, then again, and I wrote down the timestamps on paper. I did not save them with dramatic names. I saved them by date and time, like normal records. I backed them up to a separate drive, the same way I back up work files. I was not doing this to punish anyone. I was doing it because people who push boundaries often try to rewrite what happened later. Elliot arrived that afternoon, right on time. He greeted me, looked at the door, and got to work without small talk. He checked the keypad, tested the lock, and examined the frame. He moved with the focus of someone who has seen many accidents that were not accidents. He said the keypad had been pressed many times in a short period. He said the frame showed signs of force near the latch area. He did not use emotional words. He just described what he saw. He took photos with his own phone and said he would send them in a simple message later, along with a basic service note. I thanked him and paid him. After he left, I sat at my kitchen table and stared at the corkboard calendar. My business trip dates were still circled. It looked like a small thing, but it mattered. It proved I was not home. It proved the timing. It proved the boundary was crossed while I was away. That evening, I called Renee Calder and asked for an appointment. She gave me a time the next morning. She did not ask for drama. She asked for the basics. Who, when, where? What do I want? I told her I wanted my boundary respected and my rights protected without turning my family into a circus. The next day, I went to her office. The waiting room was quiet, with plain chairs and a water dispenser. I sat and watched people come and go. Every face had its own problem. That room reminded me of something important. Feelings do not carry weight in systems like this. Facts do. When Renee met me, she listened without interrupting. I explained the pattern from the start. The repeated questions, the public pressure, the door test, the motion alerts, the forced entry. I told her I had camera clips and timestamps. I told her a professional checked the door and noticed signs of force. Renee asked what I wanted to happen next. I told her I wanted 3 things. I wanted official boundaries that could not be debated at dinner tables. I wanted my property and records protected from future attempts. And I wanted Noah to be protected too, because he was being pushed into choices he did not understand. Renee nodded and said the best path was to stay calm and stay procedural. She said I should not meet Tara on emotional ground. She said I should not negotiate with pressure. She said I should move everything into clear steps that create consequences when lines are crossed. I left her office with a simple plan in my head, but nothing on screen. No papers shown, no big reveal, just a feeling that the ground under Tara's feet was not as soft as she thought. Over the next few days, Tara became louder. She started sending cheerful messages that had sharp requests inside. She said we should meet as a family and clear the air. She said Noah was hurt. She said I was damaging trust. She said I needed to stop treating her like a stranger. I replied in short sentences. I said I was open to calm conversation. I said boundaries were not up for debate. I said any future discussion would be done properly and respectfully. Noah called me late one night. He sounded worn down. He said Tara was telling relatives that I was hiding something valuable. He said she was hinting that I was unfair to him. He said people were starting to ask questions. I told Noah I was sorry he was dealing with that. I told him gossip grows when people feed it. I told him I would not feed it. I told him I would not argue with relatives to win points. I told him the only thing I cared about was reality. The following weekend, Tara arranged a family meal at a restaurant. She invited Uncle Ron, who loves to talk. She invited a cousin who always records short videos for social media. She tried to turn the table into a stage. At the restaurant, Tara spoke in a warm voice and said family should be open. She said locked doors inside a home were strange. She said I needed to think about what kind of legacy I was building. I listened, nodded, and kept my hands folded on the table. When Uncle Ron asked what was in the basement, I said it was private storage and personal records. I said it was not a group project. I said I had always kept that space private. Tara smiled and said privacy can be used to hide unfair plans. She said I should prove I was being fair. She looked around the table like she expected agreement. I did not give her a scene. I said fairness is not proved by giving in to pressure. I said fairness is proved by clear rules that apply to everyone. I said my rules did not change because someone demanded they change. Noah stared at his plate. He did not defend Tara, but he did not defend me either. He was stuck in the middle, and Tara liked him there because it made him easier to steer. After the meal, Tara sent a message to a group chat that included several relatives. She said we had agreed to have a formal meeting to settle everything. I had not agreed to that, but she wrote it like a decision was already made. The next morning, I received a calendar invite for a meeting at the bank. The subject line was polite and official. It mentioned a family review and access questions. It listed Tara as an attendee. It listed Noah, too. I stared at the invite for a long moment. Tara was not just trying to pressure me socially. She was trying to pull institutions into her story because she believed an official room would force my hand. I closed my laptop slowly. I walked into the garage and opened my workshop drawer. I looked at my notebook and the small drive where I keep backups. I did not feel rage. I felt that same clear switch again. Tara thought she was moving the fight into a space she could control. She did not understand that the moment things become official, charm matters less than records. I wrote the bank meeting date in my notebook, underlined it once, and set the pen down carefully. Then I went back inside and made a quiet call to Renee, using the calm voice I use when I'm scheduling an inspection. The call with Renee was short and practical. I told her the bank meeting was scheduled and that Tara was treating it like a victory lap. Renee said that official rooms can be useful if you stay calm and let procedure do its job. She said I needed to avoid side conversations and avoid informal promises. She also said I should stop thinking like a father trying to persuade a room and start thinking like a homeowner protecting a boundary. That night I did not sleep much. Not because I was scared, but because my mind kept checking details. I made a list in my notebook. I wrote down the order of events, the timestamps, and the names of everyone involved. I wrote down what I could prove and what I could not. It was not about making Tara look bad. It was about making sure the truth would not be bent by emotion. The next morning, I drove to Renee's office again. The waiting room looked the same. Quiet chairs, soft lighting, a few people staring at their phones. When she called me in, she did not waste time. She asked what the bank meeting was trying to change. I told her I was not sure, but Tara was acting like she expected access to things that were not hers. Renee asked if Tara had ever had permission to enter my basement. I said no. Renee asked if Tara had ever been given a code for the lock. I said no. Renee asked if Noah had ever had the code. I said he did not, and I said he never asked for it until Tara pushed the topic. Renee nodded like those details mattered, because they did. She told me we would handle this through the systems that already exist. She said I should not take the bait of a family argument. She said I should not walk into the bank as if I was defending myself. She said I should walk in as if I was clarifying a record. She explained that if Tara wanted to create official changes, she would have to meet official standards. She said my job was to bring facts and stay steady. I asked her what I should bring. She told me to bring only what was necessary and keep it organized. She said a clean presentation matters more than a long speech. She said I should avoid anything that looks like a personal attack. She said I should not speak about motives, only actions. Before I left, she asked me one more question. She asked if Noah could handle being in that room. I hesitated. I told her Noah was not a bad man. I told her he was tired and pulled in different directions. I told her he was trying to keep peace, and Tara was using that. Renee said peace built on pressure is not peace. She said this meeting might be the first time Noah sees how institutions respond when someone tries to force a story into a process. She said it could be painful, but it could also be clear. After that, I went home and did something I had avoided for weeks. I called Noah and asked him to meet me alone. I told him it was not a debate, and I told him it was not about humiliating anyone. I told him I needed a quiet talk, father to son. Noah agreed, but he sounded nervous. We met at a local cafe during a slow hour. He arrived early and sat in a corner. His shoulders were rounded forward like he was carrying a weight. He looked up when I walked in, and his eyes showed relief and shame at the same time. He told me Tara was furious that I had not apologized. He said she believed I was trying to control them. He said she felt I was punishing her for being part of the family. I listened and let him finish. Then I told him I was not punishing anyone. I told him I was protecting my home and my boundaries. I told him that love does not require surrendering basic rights. I told him that marriage is not a key that opens every door in someone else's house. Noah said he did not want to lose his wife. He said he felt like any disagreement became a crisis. He said Tara talked about loyalty as if it meant he should push me until I gave in. I told him loyalty is not forcing someone to give up their privacy. I told him loyalty is telling the truth, even when the truth is not convenient. I told him he needed to ask himself why Tara was obsessed with a basement that had nothing to do with his daily life. Noah stared at the table. He said Tara told him the basement must hold something valuable. He said she told him I was hiding plans that would leave them with nothing. He said she made him feel foolish for trusting me. I told him trust is built by years, not by speeches. I reminded him of all the times I helped him without making it a transaction. I told him I was not asking him to choose me over his wife. I told him I was asking him to choose reality over pressure. Noah asked what would happen at the bank meeting. I told him I would not argue. I told him I would not shout. I told him I would answer questions and let the process speak. I told him the meeting would not be about who sounded convincing. It would be about what could be verified. Noah nodded slowly. He said he felt trapped. He said Tara had already told relatives that the bank meeting would settle everything and prove I was hiding something. He said she was treating it like a performance. I told him not to treat it like a performance. I told him to treat it like a reality check. I told him if Tara was right, the process would support her. I told him if she was wrong, the process would not bend to protect her feelings. When we left the cafe, Noah looked like he had not solved anything, but he also looked like he had heard something he could not unhear. That mattered. Back at home, I prepared in a way that fit my nature. I did not pace. I did not rant. I cleaned my kitchen. I sorted my mail. I checked the basement lock again. Then I went into my garage workshop and opened the drawer with my notebook and backups. I made a simple binder. Not dramatic, not thick, not full of random paper, just the essentials arranged by date and time. I labeled sections with plain words, dates, times, door, messages, service check. I also placed a small envelope inside the binder pocket. It was sealed and unmarked. It was there for procedure, not for theater. I also called Elliot and asked him to send his service note in a format that looked professional. Elliot said he would keep it clear and simple. I thanked him and ended the call. I did not need him to take sides. I needed him to describe what he observed. That evening, Tara sent another group message to the family chat. She wrote as if the bank meeting was a trial and she was certain of the outcome. She said this would finally expose the truth. She said everyone would see who was being fair. She tagged Noah in the message and added a line that made it sound like he was already in agreement. I did not respond in the group. I sent Noah a private message that said I would see him at the bank at the scheduled time and that I would keep everything calm. Noah replied with a short confirmation. His message looked like someone trying to keep his hands steady. The day before the meeting, I drove to the bank alone. I did not go inside. I just parked, watched the entrance, and noted where the cameras were. I noted where the public seating area was. I noted where the conference rooms usually were. I had worked with enough institutions to know that rooms shape behavior. People speak differently when they are being recorded, even if they pretend they do not care. That night, I laid out my clothes as if I were going to a job interview. Clean shirt, plain jacket, nothing flashy. I did not want to look aggressive. I did not want to look casual. I wanted to look like a man who respects the process. In the morning, I ate a simple breakfast and drank coffee slowly. My hands did not shake. My mind was clear. I checked my phone battery and my backup drive. I locked my front door and tested the basement keypad one more time before leaving, not out of fear, but out of habit. When I arrived at the bank, Tara was already there. I saw her through the glass doors. She was standing near the seating area, smiling and talking, using her hands in wide gestures. Noah was beside her, looking smaller than usual. He looked at the floor more than he looked at her. Tara noticed me and lifted her chin slightly, like she was greeting someone she expected to defeat. She did not approach quietly. She walked toward me with the confidence of someone who believes the room belongs to her. I nodded politely and kept walking. I did not stop in the lobby to argue. I did not take the invitation to perform. I checked in at the front desk, confirmed my name, and waited where the staff indicated. When we were called back, I carried my binder in one hand and kept my other hand free. Noah followed, and Tara stayed close to him, as if proximity itself was leverage. The bank employee led us down a hallway with clean carpet and soft lights. We entered a small conference room with a neat table and water glasses. The room felt neutral, which I liked. Neutral rooms do not reward loudness. They reward clarity. I sat down, placed my binder in front of me, and folded my hands as I waited for the meeting to begin. Victor Salas arrived 2 minutes after we sat down. He wore a plain suit and carried a thin folder. He greeted us with the calm voice of someone who has heard every kind of family conflict. He said this was a formal review meeting, and he would keep it structured. He said the bank keeps notes for accuracy. He said the goal was to confirm roles, access, and permissions, nothing more. Tara nodded like she was already pleased. She spoke first and framed the meeting as a simple request. She said she wanted clarity as Noah's wife. She said family should not have locked doors and hidden plans. She said she felt pushed away and she wanted fairness. She spoke smoothly, like a practiced presentation. Victor let her finish. Then he asked a basic question. He asked what exact change Tara was requesting. Tara said she wanted to be added to anything connected to Noah's future, and she wanted proof that I was not holding back something that belonged to Noah. She described it as normal and responsible. Victor looked at me and asked if I agreed to any access change. I said no. I said I had not agreed to anything in the group chat or at the restaurant. I said I was here because an official meeting was scheduled with my name on it. I said I wanted the bank record to be correct. Tara reacted fast. She said my refusal proved I was hiding something. She said the basement was the real issue. She said it was strange for a father to keep his son away from part of his own home. She kept returning to that idea, like repeating it would turn it into a rule. Victor did not respond to the emotion. He asked for dates. He asked when Tara first requested access. He asked when the lock was installed. He asked when the basement was entered while I was away. He asked who was present. I answered with short facts. I gave the dates from my notebook. I said the keypad was installed after repeated pressure. I said the motion alerts and the entry attempt happened while I was traveling. I said Noah called me during that incident. I said a professional checked the door after I returned. Noah stayed quiet. He looked at Tara, then at the table. His hands were close together like he was trying to keep them still. Victor asked if there was any proof of the incident beyond memory. I said yes. I said I had camera footage from the hallway that shows the door and the keypad area only. I said I also had time-stamped motion alerts. I said I had messages where Tara asked for the code. I said I had a service note from the locksmith who inspected the door after the incident. Tara's face shifted. She said cameras inside a home were intrusive. She said it was unfair for me to record family. She tried to turn the evidence into the problem. I kept my voice even and said the camera does not watch people in private rooms. I said it points at a single doorway because that doorway is a boundary. I said I installed it after repeated pressure. I said it exists to protect clarity, not to invade anyone's space. Victor said he did not need opinions on cameras. He said he needed to confirm facts tied to access requests. He said if someone claims permission, the bank must know who granted it and when. He said if someone claims a right, the bank must know where that right comes from. At that point, Renee Calder entered the room. She greeted Victor and sat beside me. Tara's posture changed when she saw Renee. Tara looked at me like I had brought in a weapon. Renee looked at Tara like she was looking at a calendar. Calm. Focused. Not personal. Victor asked Renee who she represented. Renee said she represented me regarding property boundaries and administrative protections. She said she was present to ensure the meeting stayed accurate and procedural. Tara tried to speak over her. She said lawyers were unnecessary. She said this was family. She said I was turning it into something ugly. She looked at Noah and asked him to say something. Noah swallowed and said he wanted everyone to calm down. He said he wanted clarity. He did not say Tara was right. He did not say I was wrong. He just asked for clarity. Victor nodded and said clarity was exactly the point. He asked me if I wanted to present my records. I opened my binder and slid it forward, not like a threat, but like a workbook. I told Victor the binder was organized by date and time. Renee asked Victor if he wanted to view the hallway clips on a bank device, or if timestamps and still images would be enough for the banknotes. Victor said still images with timestamps would be sufficient for the record, and he asked for the event sequence. I described what the camera showed. I said Tara approached the keypad. I said she pressed numbers multiple times. I said she checked the door hardware. I said Noah appeared later in the hallway looking distressed. I said the basement door was partially open at one point. I said Noah admitted Tara went inside and came back with a box before he told her to put it down. Tara interrupted and said Noah never said that. She said Noah misunderstood. She said the door just opened and she was only checking for safety. She said she was protecting the family. Victor asked Noah gently whether he told me Tara went inside and handled a box. Noah hesitated. Then he said yes. He said he told me that on the phone. He said he did it because he was overwhelmed and did not know what else to do. His voice sounded small when he said it, like he was ashamed to admit he had been pushed that far. Tara's eyes flashed. She said Noah was tired and confused. She said he was being influenced. Victor raised his hand slightly and said he could only record what was said in the room. He said he could not guess motives. He said the bank needs clear statements. Renee then spoke in simple terms. She said there were two separate issues. She said one was a private boundary at my home. She said the other was the bank meeting request, which appeared to be an attempt to gain access through pressure rather than permission. She said if Tara wanted formal access, she would need documented authorization from the account holder, and she would need to meet the bank's standard process. She said marriage alone does not override individual control, especially when the request is disputed. Victor agreed. He said the bank does not grant access based on relationship titles alone. He said the bank grants access based on written authorization and verified identity checks. He said if the account holder says no, the answer is no. Tara leaned forward and said, Noah was the real beneficiary, and I was blocking him. She said I was using paperwork to control him. She said if Noah was the one who mattered, then Noah should have the power, and she should have it too as his spouse. Renee nodded once and said the beneficiary role does not mean immediate access. She said a future plan can have conditions. She said some plans include conduct expectations and clear boundaries. She said when someone tries to force entry into a protected space, the plan often has protections that pause or restrict certain paths until things are clarified. Tara asked what protections. She asked what plan. She said I was proving her point. I looked at Noah before I answered. I told Noah I had tried to keep him out of this because I wanted him to live his life without carrying my paperwork. I told him Tara chose to pull institutions into it. I told him that meant we had to speak in facts now. Then I opened the sealed envelope inside my binder and placed its contents on the table, facing Victor and Renee. I said this was the part I did not want to discuss at a restaurant table. I said it was private, formal, and sensitive. I said it existed to protect Noah, not to entertain anyone. Renee explained what it was without turning it into a speech. She said it was an administrative plan tied to Noah's future support, with clear conditions about access requests, privacy boundaries, and how changes can be made. She said it also contained instructions that prevent third parties from being added through pressure or assumption. She said the bank had already been given the correct framework for who can and cannot be added without my verified consent. Victor reviewed the key pages quietly. He did not react like a person in a family argument. He reacted like a banker confirming a checklist. He then looked at Tara and said her requested access could not be granted. He said there was no authorization from me. He said there was also no standing bank basis to add her through Noah's role. He said the bank would place a formal note that a disputed access attempt occurred and future requests would require heightened verification. Tara's confidence slipped for the first time. She said this was unfair. She said I was doing this to punish her. She said Noah would not accept it. Victor looked at Noah and asked if Noah wanted to speak for himself. Noah stared at the table for a long moment. Then he said he did not want Tara handling anything connected to my house or my private records. He said he did not like how the basement issue had turned into a fight. He said he did not like how she pushed him to pressure me. His voice shook, but his words were clear. Tara turned to him quickly and started speaking in a sharper tone. She said he was betraying her. She said a husband should stand with his wife. She said he was choosing me over her. Noah did not raise his voice. He just said he was choosing what was real. Victor then slid a single confirmation page across the table toward Noah. He said it confirmed the bank's record of roles and restrictions after a disputed request. He said signing it did not change ownership. He said it simply confirmed that Noah understood what access did and did not exist, so no one could later claim confusion. Noah looked at me. I nodded once, not as an order, as support. Noah signed. Victor collected the page and placed it neatly in his folder. He said the bank would update its internal notes immediately. He said Tara would not be added to any access role. He said any future attempt to change that would require a verified process and direct authorization from the correct party. Tara sat very still. Her phone lit up on the table with a new bank alert. She stared at the screen like it was an insult. Then she looked around the room and realized there was nothing left to argue with. No raised voices, no messy scene, just a closed door made of procedure. Victor stood and opened the conference room door. He said the meeting was complete. Tara pushed her chair back and walked out first, not looking at anyone. Noah stayed seated for a second, staring at his own signature. Renee closed my binder with a soft click. I picked up the binder, stood up, and walked out into the hallway without saying anything else, because the consequence had already landed.